Have you ever wondered what it takes to be a made man in the Mafia? You've seen the movies with their epic tales of violence and honor among thieves. But have you ever stopped to think about the sheer guts it takes to actually live that life? What kind of person does it take to be a Mafia, Don? Let's just say this. If you're thinking about joining the Mafia, you might want to reconsider. Today we talk about what it takes to be a Mafia Don, and why you should probably steer clear of this dangerous lifestyle, shadowy past. First off, let's talk about where you're going to find a good candidate for a Mafia Don. They don't exactly grow on trees. If you think you'll stumble across one in your average Joe, you might be surprised. See, Mafia Dons aren't born, they're bred. And I don't mean in some fancy Italian neighborhood. I mean they come from the darkest, most violent parts of the criminal underworld. Think of it like being the coach of a sports team. You don't put someone in charge just because they're enthusiastic. You need experience, strategy, and a killer instinct. Similarly, the Mafia looks for candidates with serious street cred. Someone who's been around the block a few times, knows how to handle themselves, and has a track record of making tough decisions. No offense to your average Joe, but chances are he doesn't fit the bill. But it's not just about being well-versed in the criminal arts. Potential Dons also need a certain je ne sais quoi, a certain charm and charisma that draws people in and makes them trust him. In other words, a Mafia Don needs to be able to talk the talk and walk the walk. He needs to look the part, sound the part, and be the part. It's a tough gig, but someone's got to do it. A calculated risk taker. Now, being a Mafia Don isn't all smoke and mirrors. It takes a certain kind of person to handle the immense pressure and responsibility that comes with being in charge. For starters, a Don has to be able to make split-second decisions. That could mean the difference between life and death. One wrong move, and you could end up 6 feet under. And let's not forget about the enemies. A Don has to deal with rivalries, betrayals, and backstabbing on a daily basis. It's a high-stakes game, and only the best can survive. That SY Mafia Dons need to be able to roll with the punches and stay one step ahead of their rivals. They need to be able to think on their feet and come up with creative solutions to sticky situations. But it's not all about being quick-witted. A Don also needs to be able to inspire confidence in others. His men need to know that he's got their backs and is willing to do whatever it takes to protect them. It's a big responsibility, but someone's got to do it. An untouchable reputation. Let's be honest, the Mafia isn't exactly known for their charitable work. They're more known for their shady dealings and violent tendencies. And that means a Mafia Don has to have a reputation that's as tough as nails. They say that the first rule of Fight Club is you do not talk about Fight Club. Well, the first rule of the Mafia is you do not snitch. A Don's reputation is everything. If word gets around that he's a weak link or a liability, he'll be out of the organization faster than you can say Kimura. That's why a Mafia Don has to be someone who's respected and feared in equal measure. He needs to be someone who's not afraid to get his hands dirty and is willing to do whatever it takes to protect his crew. If that means sending a message to the outside world, then so be it. The key is to make sure that message is received loud and clear. The business acumen. Running a criminal organization isn't exactly like running a Fortune 500 company, but a Mafia Don still needs to have a certain level of business acumen to make sure the money keeps rolling in. After all, the Mafia is just a business, albeit a very illegal one. That's why a Don needs to be able to manage his finances wisely, invest in new ventures, and expand the family's criminal empire. It's not easy. Being a successful businessman takes a lot of skill and experience. But a Mafia Don needs to be up to the task. If he wants to keep his crew happy and profitable, they say that money makes the world go round, but in the Mafia, it makes the bodies go stiff. A Don's got to do what a Don's got to do to keep the cash flowing, even if it means getting into some morally questionable situations. But it's not just about making money. It's also about protecting it. A Mafia Don needs to be able to defend his turf against rival gangs and law enforcement, which brings us to our next point. A ruthless protector. Protecting his crew is one of the most important jobs of a Mafia Don. He's responsible for keeping his men safe and making sure that no one messes with them. That means being willing to get down and dirty, to fight alongside his men, and defend them with his life if necessary. It's not for the faint of heart, but a Mafia Don has to be ready for anything. To be fair, most people do and have to worry about getting whacked by a rival gang or having their kneecaps blown off by mistake. But for a Mafia Don, it's a real concern. That's why he needs to be able to defend himself and his men at all costs. It's not just about being strong and skilled in combat. It's also about being smart and strategic. A Don needs to be able to anticipate his enemy's moves and be prepared for anything. In the world of the Mafia, there's no such thing as being too cautious. A cool head. When the heat is on and the body count is rising, a Mafia Don needs to be able to keep his cool. In other words, he needs to be unflappable. Being a Mafia Don is stressful enough without adding a bunch of unnecessary complications. Let's say a Don needs to be able to stay calm and focused no matter what the situation. Whether it's a tense negotiation with the police or a violent showdown with a rival gang. A Don needs to be able to keep his emotions in check and make rational decisions. It's not easy, but it's essential if he wants to survive in the unforgiving world of the Mafia. After all, if the Don can't keep his cool, his men will follow his lead and descend into chaos. And that's something you don't want when you're trying to run a criminal organization. An impeccable code of silence. One of the most important things a Mafia Don can do is keep his mouth shut. That's right. The ability to keep secrets is a valuable asset in the world of organized crime. A Don needs to be able to keep his thoughts and plans to himself, even under the most intense interrogation. After all, if the cops find out what he's up to, they could put an end to his reign as Don. Not to mention the rival gangs would love to get their hands on some sensitive information. So a Mafia Don needs to be able to keep his lips sealed no matter what. That means resisting the urge to spill the beans even when he's under extreme pressure. It's not easy, but it's an essential skill for anyone who wants to make it in the Mafia. We're not saying you should go out and become a Mafia Don. In fact, we highly advise against it. It's a dangerous, ruthless world that's not for the faint of heart. But it is interesting to learn about the qualities that make a great Mafia Don. These are the people who operate in the shadows, making big decisions that affect the lives of many. They're the ones who keep the criminal underworld running smoothly, for better or for worse. So the next time you see a movie about the Mafia, remember the qualities of a great Mafia Don. God, thank goodness you're not one.